Commander Jake Morrison stood in the center of the Great Hall. The room was huge, bigger than any building he had ever seen on Earth. Strange lights floated in the air around him, showing pictures and words in languages from across the galaxy. All around the curved walls, alien beings sat in special chairs made for their different body shapes. Some of the aliens looked like giant insects with shiny shells. Others were tall and thin like living crystals. A few looked almost human, but their skin was blue or green or covered in scales. Jake had been to many worlds, but he still felt amazed when he saw so many different kinds of life in one place. This was the Galactic Council, the group that made rules for thousands of worlds and millions of different species. Jake was here to tell them about what had happened near the human colonies. He hoped they would listen. He hoped they would understand. Honored council members, Jake began, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. The alien machines quickly changed his words into hundreds of different languages. My name is Commander Jake Morrison. I speak for the human colonies in the Outer Rim. I am here to tell you about our recent fight with the Krex pirates. A low rumble came from the alien audience. Some of them had heard about the fight. Others were hearing about it for the first time. Jake continued his story. 3 months ago, the Krex attacked our mining stations. They came without warning. They destroyed our ships and killed our workers. We had no choice but to fight back. The Krex were known throughout the galaxy as raiders and killers. They attacked trading ships and took what they wanted. They had been causing trouble for years, but the Council had never been able to stop them. We used only the force we needed to protect our people, Jake said. When the fight was over, we gave medical help to the Krex who were hurt. We followed all the rules of war that the Council has made. Dr. Lisa Park sat in the visitor section, watching the alien faces around her. She had studied alien life for 20 years. She knew how to read their body language, their movements, their sounds. What she saw worried her. Lisa was the human diplomat, assigned to work with the Council. She had spent years building friendships with different alien species. She had learned their languages and their customs. She thought she understood them. But today, something was different. The Valith representative stood up. The Valith were tall beings made of living crystal. When they moved, they made a sound like wind chimes. This one was named Zephyr, and he was one of the most powerful members of the Council. Commander Morrison, Zephyr said, his voice sounding like music played on glass instruments. We have seen the recordings of your battle with the Krex. Your weapons are very powerful. Your ships can destroy asteroids. Your soldiers fight with great skill. This makes us worried. Jake felt his heart sink. He had hoped the Council would see that humans were peaceful people who only fought when they had to. Instead, they seemed afraid of human strength. We only use our weapons to protect innocent people, Jake said. We have never attacked anyone who did not attack us first. We have always offered help to our enemies after the fighting was over. A new voice spoke up. It belonged to an Ixari, a snake-like creature with glowing scales. The Nexari were known for being very careful and suspicious of everything. You say you are peaceful, the Nexari said, but we have watched your military training. We have seen your war games. You practice fighting battles that would frighten entire star systems. No peaceful species needs such terrible weapons. Lisa stood up from her seat. She had been afraid this would happen. The Council members were looking at human military power and not understanding why humans had built it. Council members, she said, may I speak? The ancient being who led the Council nodded. His name was Mordun, and his species had started the Council thousands of years ago. He was older than some civilizations, and his word carried great weight. You may speak, Dr. Park, Mordun said. Lisa walked to the center of the hall to stand. next to Jake. She looked around at all the alien faces, trying to find some sign of understanding. "The Council has kept peace in the galaxy for a long time," she said. "But that peace has made many species forget what war is like. Humans remember. We have seen what happens when peaceful people are not ready to defend themselves." She gestured to the floating displays around the hall. "Look at the history of the Talani. They were peaceful traders who never hurt anyone. When the Kreks attacked them, they had no weapons to fight back. Half their population died before help came. The Talani representative, a graceful humanoid with silver skin, nodded sadly. Lisa continued, "Look at the Kresh. They were artists and philosophers who believed violence was always wrong. When pirates attacked their worlds, they refused to fight back. Now their species exists only in Council refugee camps." More nodding from the audience. Everyone knew these stories. They were part of galactic history, lessons about what happened when good people were not prepared for bad ones. "Humans learned from these tragedies," Lisa said. "We built strong weapons and trained hard, not because we love war, but because we love peace. We know that the best way to avoid a fight is to be ready for one." The hall was quiet for a moment. Then Zephyr spoke again. "Your words are wise, Dr. Park, but your actions worry us. The Kreks have been raiding ships for years. The Council has been working to stop them through diplomacy. You chose to use violence instead." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "How many ships did the Kreks destroy while the Council was talking? How many innocent people died while you were having meetings?" "That is not the point," Zephyr said. "The point is that you took the law into your own hands. You acted without Council permission. You showed that human colonies think they can do whatever they want. We showed that human colonies will protect themselves when no one else will," Jake replied. The debate continued for hours. Jake and Lisa presented evidence of human restraint and cooperation. They showed recordings of human ships helping alien traders who had been attacked by pirates. They presented documents proving that humans had asked the Council for help many times before taking action themselves. But the Council members seemed to have already made up their minds. They looked at human military power and saw only danger. They ignored human mercy and cooperation. Finally, Mordan raised his hand for silence. The ancient being's eyes were cold as he looked down at the two humans. "The Council has discussed this matter for many days," he said. "We have reviewed all the evidence. We have heard all the arguments. Our decision is made." Jake and Lisa exchanged glances. They both knew what was coming. "The human species has shown dangerous aggression," Mordan continued. "Your weapons are too powerful. Your military is too strong. Your people are too willing to use violence. This cannot be allowed to continue. What are you saying?" Lisa asked, though she already knew. "The Council places the human species under our protection. Your military will be disbanded. Your weapons will be destroyed. Your colonies will accept Council peacekeepers to maintain order. Your people will be moved to worlds where we can watch over them and keep them safe." The words hit Jake like a physical blow. The Council was not just limiting human expansion or placing restrictions on human weapons. They were dismantling human civilization itself. "You cannot do this," Jake said. "Humans are a free species. We have the right to govern ourselves." "You have the right to exist under Council protection," Mordan replied. "Nothing more. You have 72 hours to begin following our orders. Any resistance will be met with force." The session ended, and the alien delegates began to leave. Jake and Lisa stood alone in the great hall, watching the empty seats. "They do not understand," Lisa whispered. "They think they are protecting the galaxy from us. They do not realize they are creating the very thing they fear." Jake nodded. Throughout human history, there had been many examples of what happened when peaceful people were pushed too far. The council was about to learn that lesson for themselves. "We need to warn Earth," Jake said. "We need to warn all the colonies. The council thinks they are dealing with a conquered species. They are about to find out how wrong they are." As they walked out of the hall, both humans knew that everything had changed. The age of cooperation was over. The age of resistance was about to begin. 3 weeks after the council meeting, the alien ships came to New Washington. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of her ship, the UES Defender, watching the enemy fleet take positions around the planet. She had been a soldier for most of her life, and she knew what she was looking at. 15 big warships, 30 smaller ones, and lots of support vessels, reported Lieutenant Commander Ben Hayes. His voice was tight with anger, but he kept it under control. They brought enough firepower to destroy a whole star system. Kate studied the display screen that showed the positions of all the ships. Her mind automatically calculated which ships to attack first, where to place her own vessels for the best defense, and how long her small fleet could hold out against such overwhelming numbers. It was an old habit from her military days. "Turn off all our weapons," she ordered. "We are not going to give them any excuse to say we started a fight." Ben looked surprised. "Admiral, we cannot fight all those ships, but we could make them pay a price for attacking us." Kate shook her head. "That is exactly what they want us to do. They want us to shoot first, so they can tell the galaxy that humans are violent and dangerous. We are not going to play their game." Down on the planet, Governor Sam Turner was reading the council's demands on his computer tablet. The list was long and detailed, covering everything from military equipment to government policies. As he read, his face grew darker. "They want us to give up all our weapons," he said to his assistant, Maria Santos. "They want us to shut down our government and let them make all the decisions. And they want us to move our entire population to the southern continent." Maria had been studying the technical details of the council's plan. She was an engineer, and she understood what the numbers meant. "A southern continent has poor soil and few resources," she said. "The weather is bad, and there are no mineral deposits. If we move there, we will have to depend on the council for everything we need to survive." Sam walked to the window of his office. Outside, he could see the city of New Hope, where 60,000 humans lived and worked. Children played in the parks. Farmers worked in the fields. Engineers maintained the power plant that provided electricity for the whole colony. All of this would be destroyed if the council got its way. "What news from the other colonies?" Sam asked. "The same demands everywhere," Maria replied. "Colony ships are being turned away from new systems. Existing settlements are being forced to relocate. Any human ship that refuses inspection is being captured. And Earth? Communications are being restricted, but the last message said that Earth's government is trying to negotiate. They are asking all colonies to obey the council's demands while diplomats try to find a solution." Sam had been a soldier before he became a colonial administrator. He recognized the signs of a coordinated attack. The council was not just trying to limit human expansion. They were systematically destroying human civilization, piece by piece. "Send a message to all department heads," he said. "Tell them we are having an emergency meeting. And activate the backup communication systems." "Sir, the council specifically said we cannot use military communications." "I know what they said, but there are other ways to send messages. The council knows about our official channels, but they do not know about the networks we built during the Krex pirate attacks." Maria nodded and left to carry out his orders. Sam looked back at the council fleet in orbit. The aliens thought they understood humans. They thought they could control a species through fear and force. They had studied human history, but they had learned the wrong lessons. They had seen humanity's ability to fight and assumed it made them dangerous. They had missed the deeper truth about human nature. Humans were not dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they refused to accept injustice. The council was about to learn that difference the hard way. Later that day, Sam met with his senior staff in the underground maintenance tunnels beneath the city. The tunnels were shielded from electronic surveillance, making them perfect for secret meetings. The council wants us to begin the relocation in 48 hours, Sam told the group. They expect us to pack up our entire civilization and move to a reservation where they can watch us. Dr. Susan Miller, the colony's chief medical officer, looked worried. What choice do we have? They have enough ships up there to turn this planet into a cloud of dust. They do, Sam agreed, but they will not use them. The council wants to look like the good guys in this situation. They want to tell the galaxy that they are protecting helpless humans from their own violent nature. They cannot do that if they commit genocide. So what do we do? Ask Chief Engineer Bob Carter. We comply with their orders, Sam said. But we comply very, very slowly. The group looked confused. Sam smiled grimly and continued. The council has given us detailed instructions for the relocation. They want us to dismantle our power plant, pack up our equipment, and move 60,000 people to the other side of the planet. They think this can be done in a few weeks. It cannot be done in a few weeks, Maria said, understanding dawning on her face. The logistics alone would take months. Exactly. And we are going to make sure it takes even longer. Every form they give us will be filled out incorrectly and need to be resubmitted. Every piece of equipment will develop mysterious technical problems. Every step of the process will encounter unexpected delays. Dr. Miller still looked worried. What will that accomplish? We are just postponing the inevitable. No, Sam said. We are buying time. Time for the underground communication network to spread the word to other colonies. Time for people throughout the galaxy to see what the council is really doing. Time for resistance to grow. Over the following days, the plan went into effect. The council peacekeepers who landed on New Washington found themselves dealing with a frustrating bureaucracy that seemed designed to slow down everything they wanted to do. Forms were filled out in the wrong languages. Equipment that was supposed to be dismantled somehow required spare parts that were temporarily unavailable. Transport vehicles developed engine trouble at critical moments. Computer systems experienced glitches that took hours to fix. The peacekeepers had expected resistance in the form of violence or outright refusal to obey orders. Instead, they found a form of opposition they had never encountered before. The humans were technically obeying every order, but their obedience was having the opposite effect of what the council wanted. Captain Vextai, the military commander, in charge of the operation, reported to his superiors that the humans were aggressively complying with council orders. The phrase made no sense to his alien supervisors, but Vextai understood what was happening. They are following our orders exactly, he explained, but they are doing it in a way that makes our orders impossible to carry out effectively. They are using our own rules against us. Meanwhile, the secret communication network was spreading. News of the occupation throughout human space. Dr. Alex Chun, working in a hidden laboratory on the mining station Omega-7, had perfected a way to send messages instantly across the galaxy using quantum physics. The quantum entanglement array is working perfectly, he reported to his team. We can establish instant communication between any human settlement that has the right equipment. Captain Lucy Wright, commanding the cargo ship Frontier Spirit, was using the new communication system to coordinate with other human ship captains. Her vessel was supposedly undergoing mandatory council inspection at a space station, but she was actually organizing a secret supply network. We have 17 cargo ships and 12 passenger vessels ready to start running supplies to the colonies, she reported. The council's inspection schedule has predictable gaps that we can exploit. What kind of supplies? Asked Dr. Chun. Food, medicine, communication equipment, and most importantly, hope. The Council is trying to make the colonists feel isolated and helpless. We are going to show them that they are not alone. The resistance network grew quickly. Human ship captains who had been forced to submit to Council inspections began finding ways to hide cargo in secret compartments. Human engineers who had been ordered to dismantle their equipment began hiding spare parts and technical manuals. Human farmers who had been told to reduce their crop yields began secretly storing food for the relocated populations on Earth. President Kevin Walsh was monitoring the situation through the quantum communication network. The planet had been under Council blockade for weeks, but the secret messages were keeping Earth informed of events throughout human space. The Council has made a serious mistake, Walsh told his cabinet. They assumed that controlling our military would make us helpless. They did not realize that our real strength comes from our ability to work together and support each other. Secretary of State Helen Brooks had been analyzing reports from alien diplomats throughout the galaxy. Mr. President, we are seeing unusual activity in Council space. Several member species are expressing concern about the human situation. The Kithara Trading Confederation has filed formal protests. The Zephyrian Diplomatic Corps is asking difficult questions. What are they saying? They are asking why the Council is using military force against a species that has not declared war on anyone. They are asking why human children are being forced to leave their homes. They are. Dr. Alex Chun worked in the hidden laboratory deep inside mining station Omega-7. The official records said his research facility had been shut down months ago when the Council started their occupation. But the official records were wrong. Alex had been working on a new type of communication technology when the Council restrictions began. His quantum entanglement array could send messages instantly across the galaxy, faster than any traditional communication system. The Council knew about regular human communication networks, but they knew nothing about this one. The quantum array is ready, Alex told his team through a secure connection. We can establish instant communication between any human settlement that has the right equipment. His team was scattered across dozens of worlds, all working in secret to build the resistance network. They were scientists, engineers, and technicians who had been ordered to stop their work. Instead, they had simply moved it underground. Captain Lucy Wright was listening to the transmission from her cargo ship, the Frontier Spirit. Officially, her vessel was docked at Kepler Station for mandatory Council inspection. In reality, she was coordinating with other human ship captains to create a secret supply network. We have 17 cargo ships and 12 passenger vessels ready to start running supplies to the colonies, Lucy reported. The Council's inspection schedule has predictable gaps that we can use. The Council had tried to control human space travel by requiring all ships to undergo regular inspections. But the bureaucracy they had created was so complex that it actually made it easier for determined captains to slip through the cracks. What kind of supplies are we talking about? Asked Dr. Chun. Food, medicine, communication equipment, and, most importantly, hope, Lucy replied. The Council is trying to make the colonists feel isolated and helpless. We are going to show them that they are not alone. On New Washington, the forced relocation was proceeding slowly. Governor Sam Turner had been using every bureaucratic delay tactic he could think of, but the Council peacekeepers were getting frustrated with the lack of progress. The Council representatives are starting to get angry, reported Maria Santos. During a secret meeting in the underground tunnels, they expected us to comply immediately, but our technical difficulties and administrative delays are buying us time. Time for what? Asked Dr. Susan Miller, the colony's chief medical officer. Even if we slow down the relocation, we cannot stop it forever. They have too many ships and too many soldiers. Sam smiled grimly. Susan, you are thinking like a doctor, not like a strategist. We are not trying to win a military victory. We are trying to prove that the Council's approach is wrong. I do not understand. The Council sees us as a problem to be solved through force and control. They think they can reshape human civilization by imposing their will on us. But they are making the same mistake that occupying armies have made throughout history. They think that forcing people to obey is the same as making them accept your authority. Maria nodded as understanding dawned on her face. The more pressure they apply, the more resistance they create. Exactly. Every delay, every act of passive resistance, every time we help each other despite their restrictions, we are proving that their methods do not work. And more importantly, we are showing other species what the Council has really become. The humans were right to be optimistic. Throughout the galaxy, other species were watching the Council's treatment of humanity with growing concern. The Kithara, a peaceful trading species, had privately expressed worry about the precedent being set. The Zephyrians, who had been Council allies for centuries, were beginning to question whether the organization had become too controlling. On the Council's capital world of Nexus Prime, Chancellor Mordun was meeting with his military advisors. The reports from human space were troubling. What should have been a simple enforcement action was turning into a prolonged occupation that was embarrassing the Council throughout the galaxy. The humans are not responding as we predicted, reported General Vextai, the Council's military commander. They obey our direct orders, but their cooperation is minimal. Production in the relocated colonies has dropped by 70%. We are having to provide far more resources than we planned. Then increase the pressure, Mordun replied. Make it clear that continued resistance will result in harsher measures. With respect, Chancellor, I am not sure that approach will work. The humans are not rebelling openly, but they are showing us a form of resistance we have not seen before. They are making our occupation succeed technically while failing practically. Mordun's ancient eyes narrowed. Explain. They are showing us that controlling a species is not the same as governing them. We can force them to move, but we cannot force them to be productive. We can shut down their military, but we cannot shut down their creativity. We can monitor their communications, but we cannot monitor their will to resist. The Chancellor was silent for a long moment. He had ruled the Council for over 1,000 years, and he had never encountered a problem like this. Double the peacekeeping forces. If the humans want to play games, we will remind them of the consequences of defying the Council. But even as he gave the order, Mordun felt a growing unease. The Council had faced rebellious species before, but they had always been straightforward military conflicts. This was different. The humans were fighting a war of patience and principles, and the Council was not prepared for that kind of battle. Meanwhile, the resistance network was expanding rapidly. Captain Lucy Wright had made contact with dozens of other human ship captains who were secretly moving supplies to the occupied colonies. The Council's inspection system was thorough, but it was also predictable, and experienced smugglers could find ways around it. We have established regular supply runs to 12 different colonies, Lucy reported during a quantum communication session. The Council inspectors are looking for weapons and military equipment. They are not paying much attention to food, medicine, and communication devices. What about the risks? Asked Sam Turner from New Washington. If they catch you, the consequences could be severe. The risks are acceptable, Lucy replied. The Council wants to maintain the illusion that they are protecting us, not punishing us. They cannot afford to be too harsh with civilian traders who are just trying to help their own people. The supply network was having a significant impact on morale in the occupied colonies. Families who had been forced to relocate were receiving care packages from friends and relatives throughout human space. Children who had been separated from their parents were getting messages that kept them connected to their families. More importantly, the colonists were learning that they were not alone. The council had tried to isolate each human settlement, to make them feel helpless and abandoned. Instead, the resistance network was proving that human communities throughout the galaxy were working together to support each other. Dr. Alex Chun had been monitoring council communications and was pleased with what he was learning. The council is having internal debates about the human situation, he reported. Several member species are expressing concern about our treatment. What kind of concerns? Asked Sam. The Kithara are worried about the preceding this sets. They are asking what happens if the council decides that their trading practices are too aggressive. The Zephyrians are questioning whether the council has the right to dismantle an entire civilization. Even some of the species that voted for the original restrictions are having second thoughts. The resistance was working, but it was also dangerous. The council was becoming increasingly frustrated with their inability to control the human population effectively. Their response was to increase the pressure, to make the occupation more harsh and restrictive. On New Washington, the peacekeeping forces were given new orders. The relocation timetable was shortened. The restrictions on human movement were tightened. The inspection procedures became more invasive and humiliating. They are trying to provoke us into open rebellion, Sam told his staff during another underground meeting. They want us to attack their soldiers or refuse to obey their orders. That would give them the excuse they need to use overwhelming force. So what do we do? Asked Dr. Miller. We continue to resist, but we resist intelligently. We obey their orders, but we obey them in ways that make their objectives impossible to achieve. We show the galaxy that the Council's methods do not work, and we do it without giving them any excuse to claim that we are the aggressors. A strategy was working, but it was also taking a terrible toll on the human population. Families were being separated. Children were being forced to leave their homes. Elderly colonists were dying from the stress and hardship of constant relocation. Dr. Miller was treating increasing numbers of patients for depression, anxiety, and stress-related illnesses. We are winning the propaganda war, she told Sam privately. But we are losing people. How long can we keep this up? Sam looked out at the city that was slowly being dismantled around them. Long enough. The Council thinks this is about military force and political control. They do not understand that this is really about right and wrong, and the galaxy is starting to see which side is which. The resistance network was also evolving. What had started as a simple supply operation was becoming something much more. The moment that changed everything happened 6 months after the Council's occupation began. Captain Lucy Wright was flying her cargo ship, the Frontier Spirit, toward New Washington with a hold full of medical supplies. She had made this run dozens of times before, but today was different. Human vessel, stop immediately, came the message from the Council patrol ship. You are carrying supplies that have not been approved. Lucy looked at her cargo list on the computer screen. Everything was marked as humanitarian aid and should have been legal to transport. But the Council had been changing the rules every week, making it harder and harder to get supplies to the relocated colonists. Council vessel, we are carrying food and medicine for civilian populations. These supplies were approved by your own inspection teams last week. The approval has been canceled. You will give us your cargo and come with us for questioning. Lucy stared at the message for a long moment. She knew what this meant. The Council was no longer pretending that their restrictions were about security or safety. They were simply trying to make life as difficult as possible for the human colonists, hoping to break their will to resist. Negative Council vessel. These supplies are going to people who need them. If you want to stop me, you will have to fire on a medical transport. The standoff lasted for nearly an hour. Lucy sat in her captain's chair, calmly reading from her cargo manifest while Council warships surrounded her small vessel. Unknown to her, the entire confrontation was being broadcast live through the quantum communication network that Dr. Alex Chon had built. Humans throughout the galaxy watched as Lucy described what was in her cargo hold. But more importantly, so did other species. The Kithara trading fleet, passing through the system, was recording everything. The Zephyrian diplomatic mission was receiving real-time updates from their intelligence networks. "We have 30 tons of medical supplies," Lucy said, her voice steady despite the danger she was in. "This includes medicine for the children in the southern settlement who have developed lung infections because the air filters in their temporary housing do not work properly. We have protein supplements for the elderly colonists who are getting sick because the Council's food allocation does not provide proper nutrition for humans." The Council commander, a veteran officer named Grektal, found himself in an impossible position. His orders were clear: stop unauthorized supply runs to human colonies. But opening fire on a medical transport would create a scandal that would echo throughout the galaxy. "We also have educational materials for the children," Lucy continued, "including basic math and science books that were apparently considered dangerous by the Council censors. I am not sure how teaching children to read is a threat to galactic peace, but I'm just a cargo hauler. Human captain, you are breaking Council law. Stand down immediately." "I am breaking laws that sentence children to preventable illness and old people to hunger," Lucy replied calmly. "I will accept responsibility for that violation." The standoff ended when Lucy simply started her engines and headed for New Washington. The Council ships could have easily destroyed her vessel, but Commander Grektal hesitated. In that moment of hesitation, Lucy's ship entered the planet's atmosphere and was safe. The incident became known as the Frontier Spirit Moment throughout human space. Within days, dozens of other human captains were following Lucy's example, running supplies to the relocated colonies and daring the Council to fire on humanitarian missions. But the real impact was felt beyond human space. The Kithara delegation to the Council formally requested a review of the human occupation policies. The Zephyrian ambassador submitted a detailed report questioning the Council's methods. 3 smaller species that had been considering Council membership withdrew their applications. The recordings of Lucy's confrontation spread throughout the galaxy. Alien news networks played the audio of a human woman calmly explaining why she was willing to risk her life to deliver medicine to sick children. The contrast between her quiet courage and the Council's overwhelming military response was striking. On Earth, President Kevin Walsh called an emergency session of the Human Colonial Congress. The planet had been under Council blockade for months, but the quantum communication network had kept Earth informed of events throughout the colonies. "The Council has made a serious mistake," Walsh told the assembled representatives. "They thought they could control us through fear and force, but they have actually shown the galaxy what kind of organization they really are." Secretary of State Helen Brooks had been analyzing intelligence reports from throughout the galaxy. "Mr. President, we are seeing unprecedented diplomatic movement. Species that have been Council allies for centuries are beginning to question the organization's direction. The Frontier Spirit incident has become a symbol of resistance to authoritarian control. What are you recommending? We stop pretending that this is a negotiation. The Council has made it clear that they intend to destroy human civilization. We need to start thinking about this as what it really is: a war for the right to exist as a free species." Walsh nodded slowly. The time for diplomacy was over. "Helen, send a message to all human colonies, all human vessels, and all human communities throughout the galaxy. Tell them that Earth stands with them, that we will not accept subjugation, and that the time for patience is over." The message went out through the quantum communication network, reaching every human settlement in the ice galaxy. But it was also intercepted by alien intelligence services, and within hours, the contents were being discussed in government chambers throughout the galaxy. The response was immediate and dramatic. Human colonies that had been passively resisting. The Council's orders became more openly defiant. Human ship captains who had been avoiding confrontation began actively challenging Council authority. Human communities that had been quietly enduring occupation began openly expressing their anger. On New Washington, Governor Sam Turner received the message from Earth while meeting with his staff in the underground tunnels. The words were simple, but their meaning was clear. The time for subtle resistance was over. Earth is right, Sam told his team. We have been trying to show the galaxy that the Council's methods are wrong. We have succeeded. Now we need to show them that we will not accept those methods, regardless of the consequences. What are you suggesting? Asked Dr. Susan Miller. We stop cooperating with the relocation. We stop pretending that their demands are legitimate. We tell the Council peacekeepers that we are free humans on a free world, and we will not be moved. Maria Santos looked worried. Sam, they have enough firepower in orbit to destroy this entire planet. If we openly defy them, they might use it. They might, Sam agreed. But if they do, the galaxy will see them for what they have become. The Council was founded to prevent genocide, not to commit it. If they destroy New Washington, they will destroy their own moral authority along with it. The decision was made. The next morning, when the Council peacekeepers arrived to continue the relocation process, they were met by thousands of human colonists who simply refused to move. The protesters were peaceful, but they were also absolute in their refusal to comply. We are not going anywhere, Sam told the Council commander. This is our home. We built it with our own hands. We will not be driven from it by fear. The scene was broadcast live throughout the galaxy. Peaceful human families, including children and elderly people, standing firm against heavily armed alien soldiers. The symbolism was powerful and unmistakable. On Nexus Prime, Chancellor Mordoon was watching the broadcasts with growing alarm. The human situation was spiraling out of control, and other species were beginning to question the Council's authority more openly. Chancellor, reported his aide, we are receiving formal protests from 37 member species. The Kithara have suspended their Council membership. The Zephyrians are threatening to leave the organization entirely. The Talani are calling for your removal from office. Mordoon studied the reports, his ancient mind working through the implications. The Council had been founded to maintain peace and prevent the kind of conflicts that had once devastated the galaxy. But in trying to prevent war, they had become the very thing they were created to oppose. What are our options? He asked. We can escalate the situation by using more force, or we can negotiate with the humans as equals. And if we escalate, then we risk destroying everything the Council has built over the past 5,000 years. The other species are watching us, Chancellor. If we use overwhelming force against a peaceful species, we will be seen as tyrants and conquerors. Mordoon was silent for a long moment. The Council had been his life's work, and he had genuinely believed that controlling dangerous species was necessary to maintain galactic peace. But the humans had shown him that his definition of dangerous was flawed. The humans were not dangerous because they were strong or violent. They were dangerous because they refused to accept injustice, even when accepting it would be easier and safer. They were dangerous because they inspired other species to question authority and demand freedom. Sir, his aide continued, there is something else you need to know. We are detecting unusual activity in the outer systems. Ships are moving toward human space from multiple directions. It appears that several The final confrontation began when the Council decided to make an example of New Washington. Chancellor Mordoon ordered the largest fleet in Council history to gather around the human colony. He wanted to show the galaxy that resistance to Council authority would not be tolerated. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the U-East Defender, watching the massive alien fleet drop out of hyperspace. She had been preparing for this moment for months, knowing that eventually the Council would decide to use overwhelming force. 47 ships, reported Lieutenant Commander Ben Hayes, his voice tight with controlled emotion. 6 heavy battleships, 15 cruisers, and 26 support vessels. They brought enough firepower to destroy a dozen worlds. Kate studied the tactical display, her experienced eye automatically calculating the odds. Her small human fleet consisted of just 8 vessels, mostly civilian ships that had been hastily converted for defense. Against the Council armada, they would last perhaps 10 minutes in open combat. "Open a channel to the Council fleet," she ordered. The face of General Vextai appeared on the main screen. The alien commander looked stern and determined, but Kate could see something else in his eyes. Doubt, perhaps, or reluctance. "Human vessels, you are ordered to stand down immediately. Any interference with Council operations will be considered an act of war." "General Vextai," Kate replied calmly, "we are not here to interfere with your operations. We are here to witness them." "Witness? That is correct. You are about to use overwhelming military force against 60,000 civilians, including children and elderly people. You are about to show the galaxy exactly what the Council has become. We are here to make sure everyone sees it." The statement was broadcast live throughout the galaxy through the Quantum Communication Network. Species throughout known space were watching as the Council's massive fleet prepared to attack a peaceful human colony. On the planet's surface, Governor Sam Turner was coordinating the final phase of the resistance. The colonists were not being evacuated. They were being documented. Every family, every individual, every story of what the Council's occupation had cost them was being recorded and transmitted to the galaxy. "The Children's Hospital has been operating at minimal capacity for 4 months, reported Dr. Susan Miller in her recorded testimony. "The Council's restrictions on medical supplies have caused completely preventable deaths. We have lost 15 patients who would have survived with proper medication." The testimonies were being broadcast on news networks throughout the galaxy. The Kithara Broadcasting Network was providing continuous coverage. The Zephyrian diplomatic channels were filing detailed reports. Even species that had previously supported the Council were beginning to question what they were witnessing. In the Council chambers on Nexus Prime, the debate was intense. The Talani representative, a graceful being whose species had been Council members for over 1,000 years, was reading from the reports coming in from New Washington. "Council members, we are witnessing the destruction of an entire civilization. The humans have committed no crimes other than refusing to accept our authority. We are watching children die because we have decided that their medicine is too dangerous to allow." The Nexari delegate, a serpentine creature with glowing scales, responded angrily. "The humans are dangerous. They refuse to accept proper guidance. They must be controlled." "Controlled?" The Talani representative's voice rose with emotion. "We are not controlling them. We are destroying them. And in doing so, we are destroying the principles that the Council was founded on." Similar debates were taking place throughout the galaxy. The Council's treatment of humanity had become a test of what kind of organization the galaxy wanted to govern it. The choice was becoming clear: an authoritarian system that maintained order through force, or a cooperative system that respected the rights of all species. Back in orbit around New Washington, General Vestai was struggling with his orders. He had been a soldier for over 60 years, fighting to maintain peace and stability throughout the galaxy. But the current situation felt different from anything he had experienced before. "Sir," reported his aide, We are receiving communications from the human population on the planet. They are not military transmissions or demands for negotiation. They are personal messages. What kind of messages? Children, sir. Human children who have learned to speak our languages. They are asking why we are angry with them. Before Vextai could respond, his communication system activated automatically. A quantum network had been programmed to broadcast certain messages to all receivers in the system, and this was one of them. Young voices filled the bridge of the Council flagship, children speaking in perfect Council standard, and a dozen other galactic languages. "Hello, Council people," said a small voice. "My name is Emma, and I am 7 years old. I have been learning to speak your language because my teacher said it was important to understand different people. I do not understand why you are angry with us. We have tried to be good. We have shared our food with your soldiers when they visited. We have sung your songs and learned your stories. Why do you want to hurt us?" The message continued for several minutes, child after child speaking with innocent confusion about why they were being punished. They spoke of friends they had made among the Council peacekeepers, of alien stories they had learned, of their hope that the different species could be friends. General Vextai listened to the entire broadcast, his ancient heart growing heavier with each innocent question. He had spent his life fighting to protect the innocent, to maintain peace between species. But now he was being asked to use overwhelming force against the very people he had sworn to protect. "Admiral Sullivan," he said when the broadcast ended, "I request permission to speak with Governor Turner." "Permission granted, General." When the connection was established, Sam Turner appeared on the screen. The human governor looked tired but determined, and behind him, Vextai could see the activity of a colony that was still trying to function despite months of occupation. "Governor Turner," Vextai said, "the Council has ordered the immediate relocation of your population. Are you prepared to comply?" Sam smiled sadly. "General, we have been complying for months. We have followed every regulation, submitted to every inspection, accepted every restriction. We have shown you that we are not the threat you think we are. Yet you continue to resist. We continue to exist. Apparently, for the Council, that is the same thing as resistance." The conversation was being broadcast throughout the galaxy, and the impact was immediate. The simple exchange between a human colonial governor and a Council military commander crystallized the entire conflict in terms that everyone could understand. On Nexus Prime, Chancellor Mordun was watching his carefully planned operation turn into a public relations disaster. The humans had managed to turn their resistance into a moral crusade, and other species were beginning to actively support them. "Chancellor," reported his aide, "we are receiving formal withdrawal notices from 42 member species. The Kithara have left the Council entirely. The Zephyrians are forming their own organization. Even some of our oldest allies are questioning their membership." Morgan studied the reports with growing alarm. The Council had been created to prevent the kind of conflicts that had once devastated the galaxy. But in trying to prevent war through control and intimidation, they had created the very situation they were meant to prevent. "Sir, there is something else. Long-range sensors are detecting multiple fleets moving toward human space. The Kithara Trading Confederation is approaching Earth. The Zephyrian Diplomatic Corps is heading for New Washington. At least 12 other species are sending vessels to support the humans." The Chancellor closed his ancient eyes. The situation was spiraling completely out of control. The Council's attempt to make an example of humanity had instead created a galactic alliance against Council authority. "What are my options?" he asked quietly. "We can proceed with the original plan and use overwhelming force to destroy the human colony. That would demonstrate Council power, but it would also confirm that we have become the tyrants that our critics claim we are. And the alternative? We can negotiate with the humans as equals. admit that our approach was wrong, and try to find a peaceful solution. But that would mean acknowledging that the Council's authority is not absolute. Morden was silent for a long moment. The Council had been his life's work, and he had genuinely believed that controlling dangerous species was necessary for galactic peace. But the humans had shown him that his understanding of danger was flawed. The humans were not dangerous because they were violent or aggressive. They were dangerous because they refused to accept injustice, even when resistance seemed hopeless. They were dangerous because they inspired other species to question authority and demand freedom. Sir, we need a decision. General Vextai is requesting clarification of his orders. Morden looked at the tactical displays showing the massive Council fleets surrounding New Washington. He could order the attack, demonstrate that the Council's authority was absolute, and maintain the system of control that had kept the galaxy peaceful for thousands of years. But he could also see the reports from throughout the galaxy showing species withdrawing from the Council, forming new alliance